So here this is, and yes. So namaste to everyone, my friends. One old monk claimed 30 years of experience, and the fellow monk was very young. They joined the Seekers Club under a master, and the master gave a lesson on discernment and dispassion, that you should not have a passion, instead, you should live in dispassion. You should not live in confusion, you should live in discern. You should follow what is right and good. The old monk has learned this lesson for so long. It became habitual. The moment you become habitual, it is impulsive. You lose your intellect, you lose your free will, you lose the ability to choose what is right and good. It is based on likes and dislikes, joy and the sorrow. It is like a syndrome. You all know what is syndrome. In old days, those two monks had to go to village to beg food. So in India, still, that the real tradition is that the moment any monk goes to knocks your door, you have to respect. It is not a begging, but you have to give them the food because they do not have any profession. So they had to cross a river. So they saw a young girl. Now everyone is attracted to young girls. Not a big deal. So, that attraction was present since the advent of the human civilization. It is still there. So anyhow, they were got attracted, but the old monk, impulsive behavior, said, "No, I don't want to see anything. My guru told me I should not have a passion, but I should have a dispassion." So he moved his face so that he is out of sight of that girl. Anyhow, the young monk saw the girl is in difficulty. So he approached and he talked, and the girl was scared to cross the river. The young guy supported her to cross the river, and old monk was old monk was looking at all the things. So he was totally disturbed, even though he did not touch the girl. No, I'm not talking about myself, I'm also an old guy. So, so they crossed the river. After half an hour, the old monk said to the younger one, "Monk, I am disturbed. Master told us not to mingle with the opposite sex, that it triggers passion. You committed a sin. I have no option but to complain to our master about your deed." Young monk stared at the old one and saw his red face and said, "My brother, I have left the girl too far. It was in more than half an hour. And you are still carrying the same impression and you are keeping that girl in your mind. Is that the teaching of the master?" This is what we do when we are dictated by the likes and dislikes, joy in the sorrow. Say, if I say something, if I speak something which you like, ah, this beer guy is very good. And if you dislike what I say, then you are ready to leave the lesson. So there the teaching of the Eastern wisdom says, my focus should be to remove the ignorance. My action, thought, and speech should not be based on my preferences, my likes and dislikes, my situation. Vidyaranya, Vidyaranya. Vidyaranya is the name of this author of this text. You see, what is the meaning of the Vidyaranya? Vidya means knowledge, Aranya means forest. He is a very dense forest of the knowledge. There is no subject on which he has not written with such a clarity. So we are learning from this master Vidyaranya. He says only the self-inquiry is required. Even if you hammer the head of the old monk, that passion is not going to go. It demands an understanding. It demands a knowledge. It demands a clarity. That why I carry the impressions of that girl in my head, even when the young monk left. Why I carry the impression, say for example, your honey is wrong. So why I carry the impression of the wrong notion about my honey in my head? It is his or her job. Let her keep it. Let him keep it. We don't see from that angle. What we see, what I like. Very good. Welcome, Ashok. What I like is more important. What I dislike is more important to me. And this likes and dislikes that we have covered in our Thursday's lesson, this is a disease. If I say like and dislike syndrome, let us come to the main point, the self-inquiry, understanding. Why understanding? We are having an identity crisis. I like someone, I identify myself, and ultimately, after some time, I dislike someone, another problem comes. And that is how we have been living. That is why I say like and dislike syndrome. Now we have when chronic diseases takes place, it's a repetitive in nature. So it's a kind of a syndrome. So we have to do the self-inquiry. Vidyaranya says, we are having an incomplete knowledge. Tell me, who knows at the time of the birth that I am a human being? The entire humanity. There is no problem with any living species. Even the tiger grows, adult, because they don't have a free intellect, they don't think. Oh, let me find out who am I. Or mosquito. You see that? So that's a difference. I have a free intellect, so I have a free will. I have a free will, so I can receive and retain the knowledge. Why? To remove the ignorance. What is that ignorance? Who am I? Eastern wisdom says, I am pure consciousness. I am pure consciousness. That is one. First. Second thing, it says that consciousness is all pervading. Third, consciousness alone is the reality. It is not one. It is only one reality. It is not two. It is not multiple. Our mind raises an objection. How can you say there is one consciousness? It means only teachers are consciousness. I am also conscious. So the duality has been created. You see, the duality is created. No, no, my honey is also conscious. That's why he drags me in everything. No, this- so, you see, we first think whether we like that person or we dislike. Do you like this beer brand? That you can answer later. See that? So, so when, because it does not fit my intellect, how can you say there is only one reality, there is only one real self, there is one consciousness? I don't say there is a God also, is also God consciousness. I am also conscious. You are also conscious. There are 10, 15 people are joining there. So we all are conscious entities. We are all are living beings. So this master says you are living in ignorance. That is why we say there are multiple beings. We have to understand clearly. So this Vidyaranya, we have been talking about it. He uses a metaphor. What is a metaphor? It's a symbol, image, comparison, simile to understand a concept or a real. That is how we use the. So it helps us vividly to visualize unfamiliar concepts. What is unfamiliar concepts about who am I? I'm in ignorance. The one most popular metaphor is used of a spider. Metaphor explaining creation is that of a spider which spins out silken threads from its body and creates a web. So first it creates a web and then it goes and sits there. So here we will understand this metaphor that he uses. So starting first we understand how we are one conscious reality, and then we will see the application of that metaphor. Why we are using the metaphor that we are not different individual consciousnesses. There is only one consciousness. How come I see many? I am and you are conscious, is it not? Yes, it is. So I am conscious, therefore I am consciousness. You are conscious, therefore you are consciousness. So these two consciousnesses, I'm using a wrong word for the right reason. So there are two consciousnesses. Okay, there are two consciousnesses. From where, from which standpoint you are looking? I'm looking from the standpoint of my body and the mind and my level of understanding. So that is how we see the wave is different from the water, but the wave itself is water. Then our mind imagines there is a God. God has to be a conscious entity. So we say he is a higher consciousness as an individual. God, personified. Because we want to see the God in our name in the form. You cannot imagine God as a mosquito. That is another problem with the mind. You see that we personify. And any God, you see that they have the human form. Can you imagine tiger God? Oh, that would be a problem. So that is why we want to understand that there is one conscious reality. So it means then there is a higher God who is ruling all of the consciousnesses as an individuals. Oh, no, no, I don't believe. The mind stops believing, mind stops searching. Mind does not want to carry on the search, carry on the self-inquiry. Ah, it's false. I don't want to listen to it. We remain ignorant and we take it for granted. See, so which consciousness is one you are talking about? That is the doubt. And if we remove the doubt by understanding, we can reach, we can find and realize there is one consciousness. Master still says we are living in ignorance. I have a pain in the stomach. I become the body. I am hungry. I become the energy. That is how the master explains. I have a I have I have a sorrow in the happiness. I become the mind. I have a likes and dislikes. It is the job of an intellect. I become the like. So all the four levels of wrong notions creates an individual with an I thought. Body, breath, mind, intellect, their functions plus I thought plus consciousness is equal to individual. So when you recognize me as an individual, how do you recognize? You explain something about the body, something about the mind, something about the energy, something about the likes and dislikes. Do you see that? Here and now. How you differentiate between me and Vaibhav, there are distinct characteristics. Where these characteristics are, they belong to the body or the mind or the intellect or the likes and the dislikes. We are not searching who am I? Am I the body? No. Am I the energy? No. Am I the mind? No. Am I the intellect? No. And the question remains unanswered. That is why Vidyaranya, the great master who lived in 11th century, says, let us go with me and search. Who am I? And I have given that example that when I see the entire universe from the standpoint of a wave, I see many other waves. I recognize many other waves. When I see myself first with reference to the body, I see also you as a body, and then I wrongly explain you are a conscious entity, I am a conscious entity, body is not a conscious entity. Are you getting it? I see with the reference to the body and the mind, both are matter. And I wrongly conclude that you are a conscious entity. Is your body conscious? No. Remove the body. Tell me, where is an individual consciousness? There is no individual consciousness. All waves are made up of the water. The water is that existence. Water is that existence because of which the wave exists. Can you imagine talking to me with that sense of consciousness in you? Or don't tell me, I'm scared. Do you see that? So that gives us one reference of, oh, it means one thing is clear, that I'm not the body and the mind. And that says that all the names and the forms that appears fundamentally, or the different waves, they appear as water. Wave is the name in the form, the same way all the names and the forms, they appear and they are false. So as an individual, I have a false identity. The false means that appears real, but it is not. All names in the form cannot change the cause. The waves cannot change the water. We claim we are aware. So the moment you claim you are aware, you identify yourself with the name and the form and the gender and the rich and the poor, good and the bad, as if waves in the water recognize them as small as a storm, as a tsunami. But the wave is nothing but the water. So our perception is caused by the ignorance. Ignorance is incomplete knowledge. What is incomplete knowledge about who am I? Take another example. We say there are 107 or 8 elements. Maybe, 107 or 108 elements if you have studied chemistry. So what is element? Element is a matter. What is matter? Matter is an atom. What is an atom? Atom is electron, proton, and neutron. No, but gold is different from the coal. Gold is different from the coal. Yes, it is different. But if you look at the ultimate cause, it is all about electronic configuration. Number of electrons present in the gold is different from the number of electrons present in the carbon. That is the only difference. Ultimate cause is the same. Sorry to say, you all are very smart and handsome. So outside, at the outer level, but inside we all are same. Are we not? No, I'm more smart than you. I'm more beautiful. To remain beautiful, let me see how long your beauty lasts. Beauty is constantly changing. So that beauty is present, or the beauty is manifesting through the matter that is your body. And the body is constantly changing. It is basically the beauty of the consciousness. Simple. Is it not? No, I should not say too much, but I gave you the reference. White, we say definitely beautiful, but we also say black is beautiful. So beauty is present everywhere as consciousness. Kindness is present everywhere as consciousness. So when you start contemplating and thinking in this manner, so what happens? Gradually, by regular contemplation, the mind drops that ignorance. So this master gives a metaphor at the micro level of the consciousness. First, he says that there are four consciousness. We say only two consciousnesses. He says, no, there are four. Why he says four? Because he wants to start from where we are. So he gives a metaphor, the pot space. Do you remember? And the water space. Pay attention. Pot space. Pot space is the real self. And your superimposition is the water space. Is there a water space? No. The pot space remains as it is? Yes. You break the pot, take the body. It remains as it is. Water space. Yes, water space can be empty. It becomes the tea space. It becomes the water space. It becomes the juice space. Like it becomes Webber, it becomes me, it becomes Dennis, it becomes it. That is the water space. So at a micro level, one is the real self and the other is the superimposition on the real self is known as an individual. I'm comparing simultaneously the metaphor. The master says there is a pot space, pot space. Now, how do you say that that pot space continues to exist? Because the space cannot be divided. There is a pot space and there is a space outside the pot. Outside the space, outside the pot is infinite. So our mind creates a wrong notion that pot space is different than the infinite space outside. You break the pot in space, still you find it is one space. The space does not move. Same way the consciousness does not move. Why it does not move? Because it is all pervading. It is one consciousness. So that outer space, infinite space, is what we term as God. I'm trying to drop your wrong notion about the God. Continue to believe in it, but try to understand. So when you destroy the pot, what happens to that real self? What happens? Nothing happens. It is one consciousness. It is one space. What do you mean? Do you want to say that that real self is the God? What do you think? Yes. I am the God. Don't arrive at a conclusion so fast. Don't arrive at that conclusion. Then comes the pot space. Just think of it. Nothing happens to the space inside. So there is something inside me. That consciousness, nothing happens to that. That is all pervading. That is beyond the birth and the death. That is beyond the change. So the mind still jumps into a wrong conclusion. What is that? You cannot have a pot space without space. You cannot exist without space. House cannot exist without space. Wave cannot exist without water. But we perceive the opposite way. I exist because I am the body. We need to reflect on it. Body is a clay and creates a clay pot, has to do nothing with the consciousness within. It is independent. Whether clay pot remains, changes, breaks up, destroys, consciousness is, the space is. Master says space inside the pot is the real self, free from the clay. What is the clay? Name in the form. So I'm going little, we are going little deep. So no, but when I say I'm an individual, what it means? That space plus clay pot is an individual. What it means? In my case, I thought plus that consciousness which is already present, plus body, mind, breath, intellect, is an individual that we recognize by the name of Vaibhav, David, Stephen, Girish, Anastasia. Three stages. So we have three consciousnesses we have understood. One is the part space, the real self. Outside it, it is the real, the supreme consciousness, which we know by the term God, etc., etc. That just keep in your mind. And then what happens? So then the no, you're talking of the part space as an individual. So the three stages of the consciousness. What is the fourth one? The way this individual with the name and the form, with the body, mind, intellect, I thought is reflecting on the consciousness, and I feel I'm an individual, same way the entire universe of the world of the name and the form together is superimposed on the infinite consciousness, is known as the word. That is why this word appears with the name and the form, the same way the body appears as the name and the form. And what appears as the name and the form is going to change. It has to change. It has been changing since birth. The four consciousnesses. First is the real self, the part space. Second is the water space. That is how he compares. The third is the infinite space as supreme consciousness, as one consciousness. And in that consciousness, the entire world is reflecting. So at the micro level, what is the ignorance that I claim that I am an individual? At the macro level, I claim this word is real. That is the problem. So it is better to understand a bit what is that superimposition. I told you space represents consciousness either in totality or in individuality. Space in totality, supreme consciousness. Space at the level of individuality. This is what hiding behind this body, mind, intellect, ego. I lost the track. That shows that the mind is impure. It needs to be made pure. Just remind me. That is why we say the mind has to be pure to continue this journey. Otherwise, you will lose the track. Who make you lose the track? Mind. Why? Likes and dislikes, joy and the sorrow, incomplete knowledge. Anyhow, in totality, it is supreme consciousness whose manifestation we call God. It is the same consciousness reflected in an individual is real self. Don't dare you say God and real self are one. Yeah, it looks like they are one. That is what we are searching. Let us see what happens. Let us see what happens. But now we are tackling one problem and we are resolving how consciousness is reflected like sun. Reflected in the water appears many. Did I make a statement? How consciousness, supreme consciousness, is reflected like a sun reflected in the water appears many. In the 10 buckets of water, I gave an example. So where is the bucket? This body and the mind is one bucket where the consciousness is reflected. Then his body and the mind is another bucket. Anastasia body and the mind is another. So we pay more attention to the outer form. We do not see the ultimate cause, that why I act like a conscious being, it is because of the body, because on the mind, that consciousness is reflected. Can I say another way? That the mind borrows the consciousness from the mind and it becomes a sentient entity. From the mind, the body borrows the consciousness, so I feel like a sentient entity. Then they go together. When they go together, then we find, oh, I'm an individual, I'm different from you. So I'm also conscious entity. You are also conscious entity. So we two are different. How we are different? At the physical level, at the mental level, at the level of some traits. What about at the level of the consciousness? We are the same consciousness. So these two bodies, the physical body and the subtle body, there that consciousness is reflecting the way the sun is reflecting in the bucket full of water. Bucket full of water. Water is the mind. Bucket is the physical body. Consciousness is one. You cannot have many consciousnesses. There is only one consciousness. This is what we call a superimposition. Remember this, don't forget. We will discuss in detail about what exactly is this superimposition and how our master Vidyaranya explains beautifully. But just to give you one idea, then, what do you mean by superimposition? So first, I have to see what what superimposes on the consciousness. It is the physical body and the mind. Water in the bucket and the bucket. And who is conditioned? Who is superimposed? Consciousness. I understood. No. After understanding, do you see it? No, I don't see it. That is what the ignorance is. You don't see it. You have an incomplete knowledge. Your mind runs to the bucket in the mind. How can you say that we are all one? I'm more beautiful than you. What happens? The mind lives in ignorance. No, or I'm smarter than you, whatever it is. It is purely a kind. What is? It is purely a common sense approach. It does not need an IQ to understand. Close your eyes. Eyes are closed, my friends. I have to communicate in terms of many consciousnesses. That is okay. But at the same time, can I still claim one consciousness inside? Is your body listening? No. Is your mind is listening? Yes. To who is listening? Ah, your mind is listening. Oh, very good. So mind is listening to the mind. I have to go behind. Wave is listening to the wave. But at the same time, I can be aware. What does it mean? I can be aware of that consciousness. Are you getting? I can be aware of the hot plate. But the hot plate is not hot by, it's not nature. Oh, now I can understand. Ah, this hot plate is reflected medium Oh, yes, I can give you 1 million examples of this. So now we will go. Such a simple, it is not a step, because if I say it is a step, then it becomes a practice. So I will not use the word practice or the steps. We are just aware. What is this awareness? So I have to explain awareness with reference to the bucket. Being comfortable in the field of awareness. What do you mean? In the presence of the sunlight, in the presence of the light, I see you are. In the presence of the awareness, I look at the neck joint. In the presence of the awareness, I experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness. In the presence of that awareness, I see the space. What is after that? There is only a space. Then what is this space? This space is awareness, and awareness is space. Just be there. That just being there is also known as Zen meditation in Buddhism, but it has been beautifully explained by this master Vidyaranya. He says, why you are running after? So if the space is awareness and awareness is the space, do you have any boundaries? Do you have any limitations? So then what happens? What is left? In the beginning, and let us go with one space. So one space means there is no duality. There is not two to compare. No, that is only one consciousness. Pervades everywhere. Do you forget the session? No. At the mental level, you are aware of the participation. What do you mean? Do you see the limitations in the limitless? Obviously. Do you see the water in the presence of so many waves? Do you see the waves are nothing but the water? Ignorance is gone. This is what Master is pointing. Now, do I need spatial glasses to see one space? Again, you are falling into it. So first, you want to see that water from the point of view of the wave. We're going a step deeper into the journey. Oh, look at the entire body. Body, mind says individual, no problem at all. What is behind that? Now, at the subtler level, I experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Okay, what is behind? What is the cause? Behind there is a space. Why there is a space? Why there is a space? Where all the matter is nothing but the energy. One aspect of that energy is the space. So I dissolve all the dualities in the multiplicity, the plural word. Why I drop the plural word? Because that is a superimposition on the consciousness. Oh, that seems agreeable. Mind says, okay, if it sees agreeable, then space is awareness and awareness is space. Nothing is left. We constantly live into that objectless state with objects. Timelessness, timelessness in time. There must be a simultaneous awareness. I'm using another word today. There must be a simultaneous awareness of the time and the timelessness. You have told me, you have experienced. You have told me that, I did practice and it seemed to me the time, oh, you just did give the practice for a few minutes. But it was sometime it is more than 30 minutes. But then the mind forgets, it starts living into the ignorance. We all know the real self, if I say so. If I say it again, awareness of the body, no problem. Awareness is the field. Awareness of sensation, relaxation, and stillness, no problem. Awareness is the field. What is left after that awareness or the space? If you say space is awareness, and awareness is the space, and you are there. Go a little deeper. If I say you are there, you are already there. You did not know it, and now you know it. That is why this Vidyaranya, the master says, you need not to do anything. You simply need to understand that you are the real self. Because of the superimposition, you recognize, you give more value to an individual created by an I thought in the mind, supported by the likes and dislikes, duality and a conflict. And then we say this word is a problem to me. That understanding is clear. Then what happens? You live in the state of mindfulness all the time. Which causes, the major challenges, or which pushes me to recognize the real sun is in the bucket of water. Thought process, unwanted thought, unwelcome thought. Because without thought, you cannot recognize this. Without thought, you cannot say that I am the sun in the bucket of water. Oh. And what is a thought? Thought is equal to object plus knowledge of an object plus I thought plus consciousness. Again, I'm repeating. What is a thought? Object plus knowledge about that object in the mind plus I thought. There must be some entity to recognize plus consciousness. Mathematical equation. And what is consciousness? So consciousness will become equal to a thought minus object minus knowledge of an object, means what? Objectless state, plus I thought minus I thought, because I is hanging on the body and the mind. What is left? And that is only pure awareness. That is what I said. Space is awareness and awareness is space. It can be realized here and now. Your mind says, no, I will sit up again, I will listen to it again, even during the journey. That is another greater ignorance. We postpone. Can you vividly see or become aware the moment any unwanted thought enters into your mind? What do you have to see? There are many waves, and you see the water in the wave. You continue to see the wave, but still in your head, in the field of awareness, you see it is all water, so no issue. When your mind is naturally focused on to see and to explore, not on the step where the effort is required to practice, you are the highest level of a seeker. You instantly recognize your thought. Now there is no question whether it's unwanted thought or unwelcome thought or a good thought or a right thought. You got rid of the likes and dislikes. Any thought comes, and your intellect applies that equation. Oh, no problem. Consciousness is equal to unwanted thought minus object in that thought minus knowledge of that object minus I thought. That is the journey of the self inquiry. I had a very good thought, and then I started imagination. You started others inquiry. It is a self inquiry. I'm making you aware. Self inquiry. No, I saw myself into the mirror and I look so beautiful. It is also others inquiry. No, my body has many challenges. It is also others inquiry. Body is an object. The mind says, I know the body. And then the I thought says, this is my body. Then it says, I have a problem. Emptiness of the mind or thoughts, mindful of the thoughts, has nothing to do with that independent consciousness. Many waves in the water and the water. And it has water is the ultimate cause. It cannot be destroyed. It can be superimposed, falsified. That point of awareness is needed, my friends. That is the beauty of this journey by this teacher, Vidyaranya. What I said, thought is equal to, in a simple term, any thought, any thought we, but I I cannot know the thought without awareness. So consciousness is already there behind that thought. But what I'm repeating that explanation. Thought is a product of the thought is equal to an object plus consciousness. But then we further expand it. Thought is equal to object. How do I? If I don't know the object, then there is no awareness of an object. So that is why he said object plus knowledge of that object. Then there must be some entity to recognize. So that is the I thought. But all the three depends on the consciousness. If there is no consciousness, how can you say here is an object, here is a thought, here is wanted, here no? Oh yes. You have understood it. Understanding is just awareness. And now you say, oh, if I am consciousness, so let me see. So the consciousness is equal to thought, whether it is unwanted, unwelcome, doesn't make any difference. Thought minus object. Did I destroy the object? No. Did I fight with an object? No. That object may be mental or physical. Minus knowledge of an object. Do I still aware of that object? Yes, it is possible. It is, you are aware or you are not aware. It doesn't make any difference of the object. You are more on the very awareness, minus the I thought. So you recognize there is an I thought. There is no I entity. What is left? I am consciousness. We have resolved all the four stages of the consciousness. There is only one reality. You have to listen to it again, contemplate and reflect. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Om. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Om. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Bring your awareness on the right hand, your awareness on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside the palms. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. We'll share our experiences. And also, if you have to ask any question, in the meantime, Anesthesia, you have sent an email to me a day before yesterday or yesterday. The answer is hidden in the today's talk. Find out the answer and then send me back. Did you listen to it? Yes, good. So how are you, Stephen?
I'm good. Thank you for that. The lesson was I understand. I understand the metaphors. I understand the analogies. What you're saying. There's some very deep concepts that are in there. And immediately through the first part of the lessons, I was like, okay, this is definitely going to be something that needs to be listened to over and over again. But what was interesting today for me is that my mind likes to process on Saturdays your lessons, and I'm constantly going through this contemplation, reflection, and taking past experiences and so on and so forth. And today was very different because there was no past, there was no future. There was just an awareness of everything that you were saying and everything that was going on. And I was like, okay, okay, very good, very good, very good. And even to the point that I've got people working in my backyard. My phone was beeping. My it was I was aware of it, and then very good. And it was just a very different experience today because I was just in the moment of where I'm at and know that okay, I need to go re-listen to this and we'll figure it out, and it'll just come. So it was good. Thank you.
It's a beautiful way. We say it is going to be 9 a.m. in Arizona. But at the same time, I don't see what is the ultimate cause of that 9 a.m. 9 a.m. means nothing. Look at it. No, no, it's a time. But is time 9 a.m.? And you get an answer. Oh, so if time is 9 a.m., then 10 a.m. is also the time. Then 12 p.m. is also the time. Oh, so you are entering into a confusion. So I have created a different entities. Where? In my mind. How? By ignorance, by duality, by conflict. I limited myself. So the same way I limit myself. How? Just pick up any thought, any thought. The moment I say I am Girish, I have already separated you all from. But let me continue to say it. But instead of recognizing that I'm only Girish, no, I'm the real. So both are working together simultaneously is the way to just doing nothing and living into that state. How are you, David and Jerry?
Thank you, sir. I found the metaphors to be really powerful. The Stevens point will need to be reflected on and listened to over and over again. I had an extremely deep experience, and again, all in lane 3, no competing thoughts or anything like that. So very, very, very powerful is the only word I can come up with. Thank you.
Yes, yes. You pointed out, your mind reflected and pointed out no competitive thought. And I gave an equation. Every thought, any thought, every thought. What is the equation? Every thought object plus knowledge of an object plus I thought plus consciousness. And what is consciousness minus all? What is left is the consciousness. So when we start looking and observing each and every thought, good, bad, high, low, with reference to this equation, there is no competition. There is no likes in this. It will drop by itself. I have an extreme pain. Okay, this is a thought. Apply that equation. So you separate yourself from the body pain. Pain may be there, it may be minimized. And then you take the right course. Beautiful. How are you, Jackie?
Sir, I'm good. Thank you. The mind loves the metaphors and the simplicity of the metaphors and finds the humor in it because it kind of smashes the ignorance.
Yeah.
And the mind also sees everything that is changing and not at all attached to it. and feel that I feel like I see, or the mind sees, bottled with that consciousness, everything in all of us that stays the same and is always beautiful, even
Beautiful.
the body's, changing, and the mind is changing, and everything is changing. We're not that, and there's such freedom in that,
Yeah, you used a beautiful word, the smashes. The moment you hear the metaphor, it should smash your ignorant mind. That is the key, the entire. That's why the knowledge is realized in stages. How it is realized in stages? You are contemplating and reflecting again and again. During the day, as Stephen was saying that I will be reflecting during the day. Yes, everything is present as it is, but now it is falsified. It continues to exist, but without ignorance. Then I am in that state of consciousness, or what we say, the awakening. Beautiful. Thank you, both of you. And how are you, Brandy?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you. So kind of like what Dree said, I realized with like a Saturday session today that the mind just keeps running, even if you step behind it or wherever you go, it keeps doing its thing. And then today I felt that again, that separateness, that space between it.
Yes, you're right. Mind keeps running. It will continue to run, if I'm using that word, even after awakening. Question is why? One thing is very clear: we will not have an unwanted, unwelcome thoughts. That is very clear. If the mind is not running, this body will not survive. So what happened? What happens in that state of awakening? That you feel, you see, you perceive that this running of the mind is too far from me, because I'm not the mind. I'm not the thoughts. Or you see, they are the waves. Mind, you are playing on the surface, keep on playing. Third point is very important. Mind is 100% available to me. I am not available to them. Then see the state. Beautiful, sharing your experiences. Where is Terry? Terry is just absorbed, no issue. Where is Vaibhav? Yes, then we'll go to you. Ashok, keep smiling.
Thank you, sir. Sir,
Yeah. Go ahead.
thank you, sir. Sir, I'm good. Sir, like this thought that every thought is my thought, that when that is dropping, so there's no attachment to this thought. It comes and goes. It keeps on running, but it is there. But it makes me free that I'm here.
Good, good. That's a good point. That's a good point. That I am here. That I am is consciousness. That I am has nothing to do with the body, mind, intellect, and the I thought. So once we live into that awareness, we are there. It's another way to put it rightly. How are you, Denise?
Thank you, Guruji. I'm good. I was observing the space during the session, the meditation, and then the thought came, why don't I try to exercise your method of removing the object from the thought? I tried to do that, and I found out that the thought just hides or disappears. There's no thought when.
Beautiful.
So it is it is probably not possible to remove the thought, the object from the thought, and to keep the thought alive at the same time. So that there is no thought after that.
Beautiful.
And still, even though I was observing the space, and it seemed that this space is a uniform, still I understand that I'm not fully experiencing what I'm supposed to experience, the oneness, the real self. So
Very good. That is
so,
very
so the goal is to find what is preventing that
Yes,
experience of oneness.
yes, that is quite a very interesting question at a deeper level. Now see what happens, and I gave you that reason. So there is an unwanted thought enters into the mind, then you apply the method. Consciousness is equal to an object, knowledge of an object, and minus I thought, what is left is the consciousness. So now the very thought you had in your mind to examine, the very thought in the object, both dissolves. If they do not dissolve together, then there is a doubt in the mind. And the doubt plus error in perception of the real self. Are you all getting it? 2 points. First, there remains a doubt. So who creates the doubt? So doubt is also a thought. Put that into that equation also. Doubt is also a thought. Absence of, how do you say it is a thought? Doubt is equal to imagined real self plus the knowledge of the real self plus the I thought plus consciousness. Are you kidding? So now you see that I don't have any idea about the real self, and still the I thought says, unless I absorb myself into the real self. So remove that, drop that doubt also. Continue to live into that state and then see what happens. Every doubt that comes, drop. So this is a good point, Dennis, you have raised. How are you, Dennis? How are you, Terry? Terry also raises very interesting points.
I'm good. I didn't have any sleep, so I may have slept a little.
Okay.
I just I remember everything up to a certain point.
Good.
And then it was just the end. So I don't think I could say anything.
That's beautiful. You need not to say. And you are already good. We can see your manifestation in the physical level is quite calm. And we have Anastasia. Wonderful. How are you, Anastasia? So you have an answer in today's lesson. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, I have an answer that it's easier to say than to do about attachments to the body, and this journey humbles ego perfectly and shows vulnerability, how vulnerable actually we are, like human beings. And it's always you feel some excitement and you think that you are fearless until you get scared. So Yes, I am
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
observe, and meditations are recently very quickly for me, and just dark, warm space. I feel warmth inside and outside, just like darkness, blankness, nothingness.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, you are rightly pointing out the very attachment. Everyone, I talk of these principles, only one talk, but based on the impurities and the level of your ignorance about the real self, brings what you speak, which is known as that you are sharing this experiences. So that it helps me to customize the next session. It gives me clarity that how I can put up these simple principles, a common sense approach to it. So what anesthesia was focused, her mind was focused on the very attachment and detachment. Now think for a while. If the I thought is not there, what attachment and detachment has to do with you? Where is attachment? I thought is not there. So that needs to be explored. Ashok, you are good. We all are praying for your speedy recovery. And you are recovering very fast. So you are
Yes.
all
Today I am discharged.
beautiful.
Getting well.
Getting
Yes.
well. Oh, you have started speaking. Wonderful. Oh, never leave any session because that keeps you in contact. We are the real self. It is very easy to talk about I am not the body when the body has no problem. Do you see that? When the body has pain, then there these principles needs to be applied. That yes, body has a pain, but still I'm not the body. So everything is happening much good, much better in life. Thank you. We will meet again and next week. Thank
Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Namaste.
you.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Namaste.